Borag Thung, Earthlets. This is In Orbit every Wednesday. I am your host, Molch-R, and on this episode, we are rounding out our coverage of Thought Bubble 2025 with the 2000 AD panel and some final thoughts from myself and Chloe on the show floor. Thanks for all the great feedback on the last two episodes. If you've not listened to those, the first one is Chloe and I's live from the Saturday, which includes a little chat with Jimmy Aquino. Hi, Jimmy, from Comic News Insider. And also episode 2, which was interviews with Garth Ennis, Steve Yoel, Rob Williams, and Tom Foster. On this one, we have the 2000 AD panel, where the guests are Sean Phillips Jock, Garth Ennis, and academic Kelly Kanayama, and that's hosted by KLO-E. One or two technical issues on this one, so the sound ain't great, I'm afraid to say, and there's a couple of odd little gaps that we've had to kind of stitch around because basically the phone ran out of storage while it was happening, which was great. But it's still a fascinating discussion from three 2000 AD legends, and Kelly, who's written extensively about Garth's work and about the transatlantic British invasion of comics in the 80s and 90s. We then round everything out with some final thoughts from myself and Chloe as everyone was packing up, things were winding down at Thought Bubble, so we're surrounded by people in high-vis jackets running around and us nearly getting thrown out and everything. I just want to say well done to all the organisers and the volunteers and everyone involved in Thought Bubble this year. It's always such a wonderful celebration of just the comic book form and the medium and the industry, and it's so heartwarming to end the year with this convention, so you kind of go away with a little warm glow in your heart about comics, which is always a pleasure. You will notice, those of you watching on YouTube, that I am yet again wearing another of the 2000 AD Christmas jumpers. Go along to shop.rebellion.com to get yours. Lots of different designs from previous years, so well worth your time if you want to bring a little thrill power to Christmas dinner. However, we're going to finish off our coverage of Thought Bubble 2025 with a panel. It's final thoughts from me and Chloe. Enjoy. We shall see you in 7 days' time when it will be, let's just say, normal service shall be resumed. Kind of. So until then, Earthlets, enjoy the 2000 AD panel from Thought Bubble 2025.
Get 2000 AD now. Get 2000.
Jock, we were just down at the pub. So we're kicking off for me. Kelly.
Yeah?
How did you start getting into 2000? What was your introduction?
It was, actually, I got into 2000 AD around 2013, just through a comics page, like a sort of comics fan page I was sort of a part of at the time, and people kept talking about Judge Dredd, and I thought, okay, I've heard of that, but I've not read it, but I've read of it, and I thought I should check this out, and I looked some of it up, and I thought, this rocks. I started right from the beginning, and I thought, yeah, this rocks, and so yeah, I went from there, and I found out that it was in a magazine called 2000 AD, and so I checked that out, and yeah, and now here I am.
God, you started like Prog 1? You just started from the beginning?
Well, I like to know how the things, I like to know what's going on at the beginning. This is why I have trouble jumping into TV series and things like halfway through. Or even like, yeah.
Like, what about you, Jock?
So I was kind of slightly late coming to it. I was about 13, 14, and I loved to draw, but I hadn't really read any comics. I had like a couple of Superman or Batman sort of annuals, Christmas annuals. And then a friend had one of the Eagle comic reprints of Judge Dredd with the Brian Bolland cover of him like hanging onto a bus going over a freeway, and I was just like what is this? And I remember thinking like, and I saw a prog as well with some Brendan McCarthy art, and I remember thinking like I didn't even really know what it sort of was, if that makes sense. But I sort of thought, I don't know what this is, but this is now what I want to do, and it became the kind of funnel for me for my drawing, basically. And you know, I'm sure for all of us from our sort of generation, as well, like I was so lucky to find it at that time because of the talent that was working in its pages, and immediately I became just like a rabid sort of, you know, collector of all the progs, and you know, and it was like seeing sort of Brian Bolland or Mick McMahon or, you know, or Steve Dillon, Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore and like having that as your sort of like base level, that's what this thing is, you know. I think I realise now was pretty lucky because that gave me the kind of you know, like the springboard to sort of, you realise what the high quality stuff that you were seeing. When you're a kid as well, you just go, oh, it's this, but it was actually amazing at that time, and I feel very lucky that I discovered it when I did, and that gave me the sort of, you know, the kind of impetus to draw comics, and here we are.
I was about 12 or 13 when 2000 started. I was never interested in it at all because it wasn't Marvel. I was only interested in Marvel comics, so I read the odd issue prog. And it wasn't until I was about 18, my girlfriend's brother had a few issues, the ones that Steve Dillon drew of Dreadman is a werewolf or something.
Oh, yeah,
I can't remember.
Cry the
Cry the
Werewolf.
Werewolf. And that was like, oh wow, this is amazing. So I started buying it every week since then. I've dropped off in recent years, I must admit. Yeah, but like all the way through the end of school and art college and my first few years working, yeah, every week. Totally into it.
Yeah, I was 7.
Wow, that's
not far off the first issue. Fell in love with it straight away. I mean, anyone who remembers that stuff from the time, it was unimaginably wonderful. There were dinosaurs and a madman with a shotgun and future sport and Dan Dare doing weird stuff, monsters that sucked you inside them and dissolved you. It was mind-blowing stuff for a little kid. And I really stuck with it for the next good long while, certainly the classic period. Few years after that ended, I worked for it myself, did pretty universally appalling work for it. Not long after that, I kind of lost touch with 2000 AD, with the exception of John Wagner's work, which I continued to follow. I've always found his stuff not just entertaining, but very interesting too, maybe from a writer's perspective. And as I say, lost touch with it largely, and then just in the last 2 or 3 years I've started working for it again, and I've gotten more of a sense of what's going on in 2000 today.
Yep, so you had your softball question, everybody. But unfortunately, my co-host, Molch-R, and I had a question today, which was like, what is your underrated 2000 AD character? For you.
Well,
That I want to know.
I mean, he wasn't at the time, but Sam Slade, Robo Hunter, I think has somehow been lost in the mix. Whereas at one point, Wagner and later Grant and Gibson were doing absolutely stunning work on that story. It's so incredibly inventive. Starts out as a sort of future detective noir pastiche, turns into a madcap comedy, but always my favorite. And as I say, does seem to have gone by the wayside a bit.
mine was the little boy that steals a flower for his love in the insanity of Mega City 1, and he sneaks into like an oasis in the concrete jungle, and he steals a little flower, and I want to know what happened to that kid.
I haven't got an answer for that one. I don't know.
I gotta.
It's a long time since I've read it. I can't remember.
I feel like anything I say is going to sound really dumb after that's so sweet. And I was thinking, I know everyone hates Walter, But
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, that is a character who could have, he's due a, you know, a revisit, I think.
We got a
Hands up. Is Walter the Wobot due a revisit? Hands up.
Yes! See, he's see if everyone raised their hands and he wouldn't be underrated.
We had a podcast question earlier where somebody asked like a fuck, marry, kill question for Walter the Wobot, Ucko, and who was it? Wrong. And like we were sitting there really trying to figure it out, and now I kind of feel like based on the hands, like who would pick fuck at least, like bare minimum. So that's pretty good. No, we've got that. And Kelly, actually.
I was gonna say, I mean, I feel like Walter would you marry, because, you know, stuff would get done around the house.
Oh, I was waiting for that explanation. Okay, why don't we hear a little bit about what 2000 AD work, I mean, you've all respectively worked with 2000 AD. What is it that you feel the most connection to with this title, with this brand, with this cultural icon that's been created under this name?
I think for me it's always been Judge Dredd, because so many great people have done it, and to get to do it ourselves, I'm sure Jock's the same. You stand on the shoulders of giants, and no matter how in your head how great you think you are, you're not compared to that. You know, even though I didn't start reading 2000 quite late, I went back and read all the McMahon stuff and the Cam Kennedy and people like that, and you know, you just can't touch that stuff. And I think the character's so good at allowing lots of different types of stories. There could be funny ones, there could be serious ones, there could be political ones, or whatever. It's a broad church of stuff, so I think that's probably the best thing in it.
For me, it's Sam again. I think one of the things I've always hopefully been good at is separating what is objectively the best from what I love the most, and it's not always the same thing. I mean, I think if you look at the first 10 years of 2000, you narrow it down, probably the best single strip is Nemesis the Warlock. It might have been Halo Jones, but that got cut down in its prime. But I like Robo Hunter better because there's something wonderful about the sheer insane creativity of the thing, and also I can trace it into my own work. I think I like Sam as well because he's only in it for the money. He's not an automaton lawman. He's not a tortured future bounty hunter who keeps killing people. That might be the problem, Johnny. He's not an anarchist freedom fighter, and he's not slaying wanting to be king of his tribe. He's just trying to make the rent. And in fact, when he made his money, he actually quit. And I thought there was an interesting sort of little, possibly accidental commentary there. How many of our favorite comic book characters, if they had any agency, would keep doing what they were doing for our entertainment if they had any say in the matter? Well, Sam did suddenly get a say in the matter, and he went to Hawaii, and I thought that was pretty great.
My favourite story is Halo Jones, I have to say, because again, like looking back, you realise how lucky you were. Sort of, you know, arguably that's a bit of a subversive thing to do in 1986 in a boys' comic. But maybe you're the same. When I read it, it's just a fucking great story, and it was, and that was that. And but I'm the same as Sean. It's Dredd really for me. He's still sort of my favourite character, even though I'm kind of glad I don't draw him all the time, because when you're young and full of beans, you think that you can just draw the costume, but the uniform is just hellish to draw these days. Right. But yeah, you know, it was that Dredd image that made me want to do what I'm doing. So it's to me, he's the thing that he was the catalyst that made me sort of love not only the comic but what I do basically. So it's got to be Dredd for me.
Sorry, do you want to move those over and then you can have this
Sure.
one? And then you guys don't have to share a mic.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it? Okay. And then I can have this one.
That's
Everyone gets a microphone.
Check 1, 2.
I mean, I suppose in a way it's an odd question because I love pretty much everything in the first 10 years. I can count the ones I don't like on the fingers of one hand and have a thumb left over.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it all.
This is odd. I never read Nemesis the Warlock. For some reason, clearly Kev O'Neill is a genius, but for some reason, it just, you know how it is when you're a bit young, you just sort of gravitate towards certain sort of I've still to this day never read it.
I've read some of it. I read it when Brian Talbot was drawing it a little bit, because I met Brian when I was at art college.
Yeah.
I went to college in Preston and Brian went there 10, 15 years before me. But we had a tutor in common who wasn't anti-comics. I did graphic design and everyone else hated comics as far as the college went. So he said, I know someone who still lives here who does comics. So I did some sample pages. I went around to see Brian. And he had a Nemesis spread on his drawing table. Firstly, I was impressed that he had a room for just drawing in. He didn't do it in the kitchen or in his bedroom. You know, he had a studio. But he had, I can't remember, his Nemesis story is like a double page spread. It must have been the centre pages that week. And it was sort of like it wasn't a Comic-Con, but it's some sort of convention thing in the story.
It rings a bell.
And I was just totally amazed by the amount of work he put into it and
Yeah, 2000's always had, like, art-wise, obviously writing-wise as well, but art-wise particularly. I remember when I first started working there, I'd go and Andy Dibble was the editor at the time, and I ended up working with Andy a fair bit. In fact, you were instrumental in that, Garth, because Will Dennis, who's here this weekend, looked at Lenny Zero story because of you, so thank you. I've never said thank you in person.
You're welcome.
But so I used to go and see Andy in the office, deliver some art, and we go down the pub and have a couple of pints and chat about stories and stuff. But he'd open the drawer in the nerve centre, you know. And I remember at the time, I think it was about 2000, I started working there, and they had some of Henry Flint's Nemesis. And do you remember, like, when he did Nemesis? It's like he's leveled up a bit, kind of. It was kind of. And, oh really? Oh, it's cool. But like he opened the drawer. And I sort of, maybe in a similar way to Brian, I just sort of got this kind of like, holy shit. You know? And Andy just went, you can feel the thrill power, can't you? And I was like, yes, I can.
I had a sort of thing, one time I went into the office with Duncan Fagredo, we delivered artwork, and you turn up on Friday lunchtime, because then you spend the rest of the afternoon in the pub and they pay. But yeah, whoever was
Andy never paid.
Dave Bishop or Steve Mack, whoever was the editor, opened this drawer and it was Bisley's Horn God picking artwork. And that radiated power out the drawer.
You can feel it. Yeah.
Why do we even bother trying?
Yeah.
That was back then, everyone was told to draw like Bisley as well.
Yeah.
Or paint like Bisley. That was.
Did they tell you to do that? Because I always felt like your painting stuff. I loved your painting stuff, as you know. But like, it's almost like you flirted with it, but you didn't really.
I couldn't do it. It's too hard.
No, but yours. But yours was better. I've spoken to other.
I can tell a story.
Okay. All right. Maybe not on the panel.
No. I mean, in the comic, I can tell a story.
Oh,
that's not Simon's strength, is it? Shall we say?
But it is interesting.
Shots fired.
Is he here this weekend?
Yes, he is.
Is he there?
But for the first time, they were actually saying draw like him, because it seems to me up till then the whole point of the 2000 AD art tradition was there was no attempt to copy each other. McMahon can follow Bolland. Talbot can follow O'Neill. Ballardinelli can follow Gibbons, and vice versa. I mean, these are the most disparate art styles imaginable. And yet, the characters are strong enough that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So what I alluded to earlier was what it gave me. I was like, oh, this gives me license to do whatever I think I want to do, essentially. And like, you know, it's like at the time, like a really cool record label that had kind of great artists signed from 1976 to something. Do you know what I mean? Like 2000 felt like that. It was like you got these magic, amazing creators that were just doing their own thing.
It was a British comics tradition. You saw it in other titles as well that America didn't have at the time. There were.
I've spoken to other artists from that time, and that arguably were like a bit damaged by that, you know, because you can't.
I'd already been working for 10 years by then, so it's like I sort of flirted with it, but it wasn't. Yeah. It was too difficult to do.
Does that make it harder for you guys as artists? Like, because you like you said, Sean, it's you know, you're on the shoulders of giants, and you know, you also are kind of, there is no house style. So you're being given freedom to go present this future how you want to. Does that make it like more difficult for you to render things?
I think it gets difficult sometimes. I've drawn Dredd a few times over the years. With Garth, I did it as a painted strip, and I've done some black and white and stuff. And every time I tried, you know, there'd be years between jobs. I'd seen something else that influenced me. You try to do it a different way, and just so that. But that's what's good about 2000 is that you can, it can take all those styles. As an individual artist, it's quite hard to figure out what your own version is.
Yeah, it took me a while, but looking back, I sort of realised but at the same time, you've just got to go, right?
Yeah.
The minute you put the board on, you know, the paper on your drawing board, it's like, okay, I guess it's me now, you know, and it's easier to chase something than to do it, you know. It's easier to imagine what you might be like when you get to the point where you're published by DC or to that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a horrifying moment when that blank bit of paper for the first time is there, and I was not good enough, you know, in my own mind, and well, not even in my own mind, it's very clear if you look at the new art book that there's, you know, like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough, but you have that sort of, I don't know whether it's like a youthful sort of, you just go for it and you try, but the 2000 AD sort of ethos or whatever it is that we're maybe kind of skirting around is kind of, I just thought, well, okay, I'm gonna try, you know, and it gave me license to do that. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm gonna fit in with the house style, I need to do it like this and it should be more like this. I was like, no, I love Dredd, he's my favorite, so I'm gonna just do what I think Dredd should look like. And yeah, again, like I think that's very lucky to be in that spot.
As a writing Garth, writing Dredd after Wanking on Gone, how did that make you feel? You know,
At the time,
for the artist, it's easier because there's been hundreds of them.
yeah. At the time, it was actually my adherence to what they'd done that undid me, because I couldn't bring any of myself to it. It didn't help that I was 20 and had nothing original to say. But where that served me better, that 2000 AD tradition, has been its influence on my work as I've gone to America and maybe brought something to American mainstream comics that they wouldn't have gotten without that 2000 AD tradition. It's interesting when you look at writing in 2000 AD, you obviously you end up with Mills and Wagner.
Yeah.
I mean, there are others. Moore is again a sort of might have been, had Halo Jones been sorted out, that probably would have been up there with Watchmen, but it's Mills and Wagner, and those two as influences on me are absolutely undoubted. They're a very interesting pair of writers. One incredibly imaginative, goes off on wild tangents, lectures, frankly. That's Pat. And then John, not as imaginative. All his characters are, his great characters are, if you think about it, in the kind of pulp tradition. There's a cop, there's a bounty hunter, there's a private eye. They're all gunfighters, essentially, and they're all that same stoic, tough guy. But John is a more careful writer because I think he thinks more carefully about the world that he puts them in. Watching him explore the world of Dredd once he split from Alan Grant and went out on his own and started asking questions about what Justice Department was like and how it functioned and what its personalities were. I find that absolutely fascinating to read over the years. That's why I stuck with John and not others.
Is it difficult for you to try and write the future? Because this is it's all sci-fi. It's all meant to be the future. Is it, especially right now, you know, is it hard to kind of think of that kind of dystopia? Is it hard to come up with your own version of that?
In 2000, I mean, I do a limited amount of work for them. Rogue Trooper might be the best example in that that's the one I've written the most of recently. And that's more sort of exploring the world, although it is interesting to sort of tie that strip to, universal notions of conflict. It is, after all, about a world that has been entirely ruined by war.
We're getting there.
We certainly are. Well, we're working hard at it. So that's been kind of interesting. Again, that might be something where you could trace those particular veins in my work for other publishers as I do more creator-owned stuff. I mean, different topic, but 2000 AD's lack of a creator contract means that we're all only ever going to do so much for them. And we might not do, it might be more a case of exploring what already exists rather than inventing new.
Well, with something like Rogue Trooper too, you are given conflict. You're given a war story that is also meshed in with sci-fi, and it's almost like the emotional weight behind war is almost given physical manifestation. Like, is that how is that for you to unpack as a writer? Like to really have to give this character the opportunity to move through these stories with that action, like the physical part of it being present as well.
Well, I think I probably started with the tragic element of it. Rogue's story begins with him losing everyone he cares about in one night, more or less one night. The Quartz Zone massacre sees all his friends killed and 3 survivors reduced to dead souls on microchips. So he wanders the world of New Earth on a sort of vengeance quest, driven on by, I suppose, the wishes of his friends and his need to avenge them. But at the same time, he remains quite a humane character. There are numerous instances where Jerry Finley Day has Bagman, Gunner, and Helm want to do things that Rogue just won't do. It's not just Gunner, not just the psycho in the rifle. They have a very different view of things than Rogue does. Rogue's still a living, breathing person, and he responds to other living, breathing people, whereas the biochips, they might not care as much. So it's that sort of dichotomy with the quest for vengeance and the need to do some good, to even if it's just fighting for his side, that I think drives most of what is interesting about that character. Yeah.
And how does that feed into something like battle action? Ooh, look at this. How does, because for all intents and purposes, I mean, we haven't, whether in the UK or in America, we just don't really see war comics anymore. It's not really a thing. It's something that kind of petered out ages ago. And so with something like battle action, how are you reviving that?
I mean, to start with the first part of your question, it's really the other way round, because it was battle and then action that fed into 2000 AD. You have a very successful war comic. You have action, which would have been a big success and then just got killed in its prime. And then third time, they hit the jackpot with 2000 AD. It's like everything they've been aiming for comes good in that one. But yes, they did start with a war comic because that was pretty safe ground in 1975. And that is where that 70s renaissance in British comics comes from. Because action was killed, it was folded into battle. That became battle action. That happened to be the best 3.5 years of that title's existence. That's something I read as a kid, because I can trace these creative pathways back to battle and the characters that appeared in it. That's something that I thought was worth reviving, just to see if there was any life left in them. I'm pleased to say there has been.
Oh, there definitely is.
Yeah, and more to come.
Good. I'm very glad to hear that. And while we're introducing books, oh, Sean.
Yes.
Got a book as well.
Absolutely gorgeous art book.
Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about this, because all I see is a giant dread and a giant déveloir, and it makes me very happy.
Well, so this is a collection of everything I did for 2000 AD and the Judge Dredd magazine, apart from the main Devlin War story because that's collected elsewhere. So I had
Swimming in Blood.
yeah, so not including Swimming in Blood, it's everything else. So all the little short, I didn't do any Future Shocks, but I did what was another name for them. I can't remember what it was called now.
Time Twisters?
No, I can't remember what it was now.
There was a bunch.
Anyway, the little 3-4 page stories. Did a few of those and a couple of things with John Smith and sorry.
Future Shocks.
No, not Future Shocks. They were called something else. And they did Strange Cases in the magazine. I did a couple of those as well. So it's just a collection of all that stuff. But it's weird because when I was being interviewed for the book, like a year or so ago, it was so long ago since I was drawing this stuff. I've forgotten most of it. Most of it's like 30 years old. Probably longer than that, some of it. I first started work for 1989, I think it was. I did the first cover I did, which I did on spec just for fun. And then I was already working on Crisis comic at the time, so I just took it into the office and said, "Oh, do you want to use this?" So that's how
They
I got
did.
it. Yeah, it took a long while. It took like a year for them to use it, so someone must have let them down at the last minute. It wasn't very good.
When the magazine launched, did you do all the design as
I did,
well?
yeah. And that was before computers as well, so that was all pasted up bits of type and
Before
stuff.
computers.
Before computers, yeah.
I was young.
Yeah, so I did the magazine design, the logo, and all that stuff. For the
Amazing.
First year or two.
How was it like revisiting your old work? Did you sort of see the pages coming in and sort of see what they were putting
It's weird
together?
because it's all in chronological order in the book, so I could see lots of dead ends where I would try stuff. That's what's good about doing things like short stories,
Yeah.
and I find that still now. You can go and try some new technique or style or materials, whatever. It doesn't work, it doesn't really matter, because then you go back and try a different avenue. And it used to be like that for like monthly comics as well, before they got collected. Because back when I was drawing Hellblazer, say, which is the same time I was doing 2000 AD stuff, it didn't matter if I did a terrible issue because it got replaced the next month by another one. It's not until it gets collected 30 years later when you realise you're
in trouble.
Yeah, in trouble. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is kind of wild being able to like look through. I haven't actually gotten to look at this yet, so I'm sitting here like, oh my god. And like, is it odd for you being able to look through like this beautiful body of work and seeing it all collected and just perfect printing? How it was meant to be seen, you know?
Yeah, it's come out well because most of it wasn't shot from the original art because that's all long gone. So I think whoever was in charge of the reproduction did an amazing job of making it look good. I don't know. It's weird because on one hand, it is 30 years ago and it feels like a long time ago. But then I can remember what room I was sat in, what music I was listening to when I was drawing some of that stuff. So some of it, takes you right back.
What music were you listening to when you did Armitage?
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember now. What year was that? I don't know.
1991.
I think you're right.
No, I can't remember. What was I listening to then? Probably just Elvis, like I do anyway.
Armitage was great as well. I thought your painting stuff on that was fantastic.
But that was a weird one because I hadn't done much painting stuff before Armitage, and that felt like I was trying to figure out what to do as I went along. So the first, say, 10 pages, it's all over the place. There's lots of different techniques, and then it sort of solidifies halfway through the second episode.
I never cracked it. Like I painted, but I never cracked.
It's like
pages.
one of my favourite comics is Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
I like it much better than Batman Year One, even though the story might not be, because you can see David Mazzucchelli develop as an artist.
Yeah.
The first episode or two, he's sort of feeling his way, even though he'd been drawing comics for quite a few years like that. But then it sort of suddenly matured quite quickly. And Duncan Fagredo's the same in Enigma. There's like Enigma number 4, I think. It's like halfway through, he suddenly turns into Duncan.
Yeah.
Before then, it was sort of like him scrapping around trying to figure out how to do it because he'd only done painted art before then, and that was his first black and white stuff as well. So trying to figure out on the job because you have to do all this stuff on the job.
I always felt your stuff had a real sort of vibrancy and like it moved like a comic page should move. Whenever I tried to paint pages, it kind of deadened it. It kind of slowed it down. I just couldn't.
I think everyone feels that way. But
Maybe.
When you have to be your own harshest critic, don't
Yeah,
you? Whether it's
yeah.
writing or art, you dare not accept things like fine, solid, not bad.
No.
But then you've got to let it go because it's
Nice.
You got a deadline and you've got to get paid. And,
Oh yeah, but as what I mean is as a critique later when someone says, that was fine or I liked it and of course you allow them your opinion, but you have to say to yourself that wasn't acceptable and I can't rely on work that I don't think is good enough because that way lies madness. If you've seen Train Spotting, Sick Boy and Rents at one point are talking about this, and it's like, well, you say no bad, but when you say no bad, you really mean shite. And that, I think, is a pretty good rule.
But I suddenly feel like I brought the book down, and I'm so sorry. If anyone wants, I mean, I am actually. All joking aside, I'm very proud to see it collected in such a beautiful edition. It has all my 2000 AD stuff. It has my Dread movie work in it as well. It has there's a lot of stuff in there, and obviously Dread meaning what he means to me it's lovely to.
That's
see
the
it,
flip
see
side, right? That for the observer, it's a fascinating compendium of your work, and it's of academic interest to the observer that you don't like certain things in it, but it shouldn't change their opinion.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like you're saying, I was clearly striving. You know, I might not be satisfied with elements, but I don't think. I think comics in general are great like that. I think when you read a comic, you can tell whether the writer's vibing or whether the artist is cooking. You know what I mean? You can sort of feel it in the page.
And I bet everyone in the room has a beloved comic, movie, book, TV show, you name it, that the creators have disavowed through sheer hatred. Mine's Kelly's Heroes, which Clint Eastwood doesn't like one bit. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Because it doesn't matter, because it becomes something else.
Yeah,
So, like, it
exactly.
goes out
It's
into
what
the
it means
world.
to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Kelly, you're kind of the wild card here.
Well, garbage. It's all the funny.
It's, all of these guys over here,
Yeah.
artists,
Yes.
and your job is to talk about these things.
Yeah.
How do you, as a fellow critic, it's not easy.
No.
How do you go about bringing people into the fold, so to speak, when it comes to 2000 AD as a critic?
That's a good question. I think in some ways it maybe is a little easier for me to do it because you can probably tell by the accent. I didn't grow up here. I live in Dundee now. I've been in the UK for 18 years, but I didn't grow up with 2000 AD, and it was something I discovered, and so I think it wasn't in the background it wasn't the background hum for me, and so when I'm writing about it, when I'm talking about it, whatever, I think there's a lot that I feel like, I can explain it in terms of other things, or the comics, what have you. One of the things I learned in my research is, not just how many, British and UK comics creators from 2000 AD went over to America in the sort of late 80s and early 90s. But how, those comics shaped, the comics that they then created were, for like Vertigo and stuff, were instrumental in redefining what comics could be and what they could say and the kind of stories they could tell. And so that's setting the bar for just comics, which then make their way into, superhero, like for instance, superhero properties, every single movie and TV show and streaming offering nowadays. That, a lot of it you can trace back to 2000 AD, and so I think people are aware of this sort of thing, even of what 2000 AD kind of had going on, even if it is just this little sort of undercurrent that they might not recognize at first, but it's there. And so all you have to do, I feel like, is just kind of connect all the dots, and you see that if you've seen, I don't know, like a Batman movie or something, you can draw the line all the way back, with some wobbly bits along the way, but yeah.
I mean, there's so many movies and music and like so many like just little cultural zeitgeist moments that do, like the joke is it all ties back to 2000 AD, but I mean it does.
Yeah.
It kind of does. It was the OG version of like sci-fi dystopia, sci-fi war, and all of these things. And do you find people to be receptive to the idea of 2000 AD kind of being the originator of a lot of these things, but also that there are comics outside of America. There are comics outside of DC and Marvel and Image.
Yeah. What I find most interesting actually is people's reactions or people's takes on Judge Dredd, or more specifically on Mega City 1, because Mega City 1 is supposed to be in America, but I think now they do have like non-British, non-UK, non-Irish writers writing it, but for the longest time it was very obviously this kind of fantasy version of America, and the point was it was this sort of not grudger, trying to think of the word, locus for all these cultural anxieties that were happening for the writers and the artists, and who were mostly not American. I mean, John Wagner is Scottish and American, but I think that is the thing that sort of throws people the most, I would say. Not that comics exist in places that aren't America or Japan, but that someone could write about America or depict America in this very incisive way, but they weren't necessarily thinking about America, the nation. They weren't thinking about that, and that concept of America's not the center of the, when someone writes about America, America's not the center of the universe.
You're talking about America, the vibe.
Yeah, America. The vibe, and also if you say this is America, then you can get away with, in Britain you can get away with more stuff, because then you can say, oh no, see, I'm not saying Britain's like that. I'm saying America's like that. So don't get mad at me. Get mad at them, or get mad at them over there. Don't get mad at me. I think explaining that is where is the hard part.
It is actually.
Yeah. but it's about America, so it's America. I'm like, no, okay. Yeah.
We're kind of coming up on our time.
Oh boy.
So I would love to go down and for all of you to tell me what it is that you're working on right now.
For 2000, I've got a couple of short stories coming up. They're a little bit further down the line. There's a Tharg story for what will be the 50th anniversary Progue. There's a
50.
Oh man! Get some work in there before everybody dies. There's a Robo Hunter story, funnily enough, for next year's annual, and there will be an action special next year. I think around about April, because next year is 50 years of action. So I've written Dredger. John Higgins has drawn it. Hellman. Mike Dory's drawn it. Steve White's done Hookjaw with Staz Johnson, I think, and Rob Williams has done Look Out for Lefty with Paddy Goddard. So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah. I've just finished working on the criminal TV show, and now I'm almost finished the next criminal book as well. That'll be out in May, I think. I only do stuff with Ed Brubaker nowadays. I haven't done anything else for nearly 20 years, maybe, for anybody else. Just doing that stuff. Criminal until the show flops, and then I'll have to think of something else.
Criminal until the show comes out and your royalties go insane. How many books have you done with Ed?
Pardon?
How many books are there of Criminal?
The last one that just came out was the 11th one, and the next one, the one I'm working on now, is the 12th. Yeah. We've got a big backlist.
Yeah.
Got copies of all of them at my table, if anybody got any gaps, you know.
Comics-wise, I've just done an issue of Absolute Batman with Scott Snyder. It's the Absolute Joker issue, which tracks for me doing that with Scott. It's been great seeing that title become a bit of the monster that it is. And I've done key art for a new Wolverine computer game, PS5 game, the follow-up to Insomniac's Spider-Man game. I've just done the key cover art, and I'm doing a bunch more stuff for them, which I go home to work on that. Oh, and the Witches TV show as well. Funny enough, speaking of, Scott Snyder's co-showrunning. He's co-writing. I'm overseeing the visuals. It's an animated adaptation of a comic book Witches that we did in 2014 with Amazon Studios, and we get the first fully animated scenes back next month. So I'm excited to see those.
Oh, I've got all these different writing and critical projects, like just all over the place. I'm sort of returning to more long-form stuff after an unexpectedly extended leave of absence for maternity reasons. And yeah, I also write, well, I write a very sporadic column on Shelf Dust called Kings of the Castle, which is all about bootleg, I call it bootleg Punishers, so different characters who've been the Punisher who aren't Frank Castle or Punisher alikes in other stuff. There's going to be a John Wick one at some point. Yeah, I've written about Nigel Higgins, the British Punisher, which is a very fake sounding name, and Pat Mills's Punisher 2099, and some other things.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much. It was a joy to talk to all of you. Can everybody please give a round of applause?
Of Thought Bubble, we're surrounded by people in high vises putting
We're trying
things
not
away.
to get kicked out
It was
for
very,
not
trying
being
very
in
hard
high
not to get
vises.
kicked out. So sorry we didn't bring you the live episode yesterday that we promised. We're rubbish, and we went to the pub.
Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
We're sorry that we didn't want to spend our time doing more recording that we do every single week. We wanted to go down the pub.
I mean, we could have done it in the pub, and I think from the comments on the yesterday's live episode, you would have enjoyed that, wouldn't you, Earthlets? That would have. Yeah.
That's,
Unfortunately,
there was a lot of yeah. We're gonna,
Right.
you know what? We're gonna keep that in mind for future shows, though.
well, we're going to do that in all every Wednesday nights thing, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When? We don't.
At some point. This is not a discussion for on camera, right?
It's fine.
But so we're at Thought Bubble. Fantastic weekend. Thank you to everyone who stopped by the booth. Commiserations to anyone who couldn't be here. Highlight, Chloe. Highlight of Thought Bubble.
On it, like this sounds vague, and it's really not.
Yeah.
The show in general, I have never ever been to a comic show like this in my life.
Amazing.
Like American shows are built so differently and have such a different feel and have for decades and decades, and like even some of the bigger shows, like the one like basically ones that include all media and
Oh yeah.
all
Like the Repop shows,
And you
New
know
York
what?
Comic Con, like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't see a single fucking Funko Pop this weekend, and I am living. It's given me like a whole new life, and it's given me a boost of energy that, like, oh, that's right. People just make things because they want to, and because it makes them happy and it makes other people happy, and that culture does still exist somewhere. We're not completely hopeless.
Yeah.
This was like, so that's my highlight, is just like a renewed optimism.
That will slowly fade.
So, give it a week.
Yeah, give it a week. Well, it was really interesting. My wife and I went to talk to an artist over there and get like a group portrait done, because she was doing this thing where, and I'm terribly, I can't remember her name, where she would do the portrait and then you would just pay what you wanted. And bless her, no. And we were chatting while she was doing it. And she was saying that she's not really a comics person. She works in the studio with Vince Locke and a couple of other people.
Oh.
But isn't really in the comic sphere, and so but she's come to. They were encouraging her to come to Thought Bubble. She's got the most beautiful painted illustrations, and she does like I think it's children's books and things like that.
Okay.
And that for me, that's one of the values of the show is that you will encounter a lot of people that actually you won't necessarily find in your local comic book store.
Yeah.
They're not doing, for want of a better phrase, mainstream books.
No, and like for me personally, I'm like, oh, the number of zines that I have seen, the number of just like tiny, printed at home, cut with just a regular guillotine, like it's a little piece of the best part about comics that is still here, and it's right here in Harrogate. Like I'm
She's overwhelmed.
I'm emotional.
Almost speechless. Can you believe?
No, I mean that rarely happens.
Well, exactly.
But no, it's just fun, and everybody seems to be really happy to be here. Everybody seems like actually to enjoy themselves, and it's everybody getting to hang out with their mates. Yeah. And that's what it should be.
I mean, Tom Foster reminded me, we're going to have chats from Tom Foster, Garth Ennis, Rob Williams, Steve Yoel, on top of some recording from the 2000 AD panel. Tom Foster was saying, he won the Artist Talent Search here in 2013. And then reminded me I've been doing it since 2011, so it's coming up 15 years of discovering new talent at Thought Bubble, and that's quite shocking because that was when it was back in Leeds.
Maybe you should bitch about that more.
I just prefer Leeds. I didn't like it here when I worked here. Don't like being made to come back every year.
Move past it. We're moving forward.
Right. Yeah. Something
Onward.
like that. But it is as Tom said, you see many of the same faces year after year after year, and it's the joy. And also, really for an awful lot of comics, this is the end of the year now. This is the end of the season. The con season is coming to a close.
Everybody celebrates.
And everyone's having a nice time. And whether you're in the Majestic Bar, whether you go to one of the other pubs or bars or whatever, you'll see people that you recognise and get to hang out with. And within Thought, it's not like, all the big comic creators in like a VIP area. You'll be here and you'll just see your mates. And that's been the case even before I started working for 2000 AD. So I mean, we've been waxing lyrical about this show basically constantly. I'm very tired. I'm very tired.
Yeah, I'm really
I'm actually
tired.
knackered.
Yeah.
I am awaiting the inevitable adrenaline
Dump.
Like crash that I had yesterday, where I basically stopped functioning for about an hour. But no, it's been fantastic, and so thank you to everybody who's come by the booth and picked up books.
And thank you to everybody who has come up and said that they love the podcast.
That has been that's been very nice.
It's surreal.
Yeah.
It's really, really surreal actually getting to see people in person and just come up and go, hey.
Yeah.
And it starts off as the like, why do you know me? And then you go, oh, that's right, we do this every fucking week, and people listen.
That is the bizarre thing. I just assume we're speaking into the void. With
I kind of do. Well, that's what keeps us going. I think at least half the time. It's like, thank God no one listens to this. We can just.
So, I mean, this is just a short live, really. We just wanted to kind of round off the weekend and let you know that we're going to be bringing you some things from Thought Bubble.
We're gonna do some things.
Some things.
Some stuff.
As part of the episode. So this week, maybe next week as well. We're going to bring you a little bit of flavour of Thought Bubble. So thank you for sticking with us. Like I said, this isn't a particularly. People are going to be logging on, going, "Oh, there's a live," and it'll be like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, that's fine.
And they'll be annoyed. But Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who saw Thought Bubble. Phil, can you turn around and show the lovely great big banner? There we go, the 2000 AD hall.
Oh, that's the good stuff.
That's been quite nice to look at, if I'm perfectly honest. So
Does that work? Nice.
Yeah, perfect.
Nailed it.
Until next time, Earthlets, from Chloe and from Molch-R, splendid birth rig.
See you next week.
Get 2000 AD now. Get